Welcome to the next session. You are actually, if you've been roaming around making sure that you're in the right room, you're actually in the catering panel that's taking place at 11 o'clock. We are here with Tim Biasotti of Barbecue by Biasotti and Rosemary Martin of Rosie Cooks. So the best way to start this session is there's so many different aspects of the food and beverage industry that you can go into. And the thing that's most important is finding your focus. And I've met both of these two, and they've got quite a story to share. The great part about today is going to be that you're getting it firsthand. So if you're thinking about any part of the food industry, whether it's a brick and mortar, a pop-up, you just want to do catering, you might be here for that. If you're baking, even if you're interested in cottage foods, micro enterprise, those types of things, there's so many aspects of food and beverage. I had my own restaurant for 27 years, and I have to tell you, I had to keep evolving over those 27 years, and I found different ways to do different things and stay in the game. So it's a big deal. And that's why today, we have many people looking to start brick and mortar. They find that it's too expensive. So sometimes you'll hear about commissary kitchens, and caterers are working out of those areas. And what I have found here is two people that have found a way to start as brick and mortar. They've had commissary kitchens. They've partnered with others. They've taken their food off site. So, and then Tim can probably share, he's going into another area coming up. So I'm going to give you a little coverage of who you're meeting today, but then they're also going to talk to you and give you how they came into the business. So I can't read without these. So for Tim Biasotti, he is the founder of Barbecue by Biasotti. It is a locally owned business that's recognized multiple times with Best Barbecue and Catering Award in Best of Lake and Mendocino contests. He's built on behalf the belief that great food brings people together. Barbecue is known, BBB, that's what they're calling you, Barbecue by Biasotti, by the way, is known for its award-winning flavors, welcoming atmosphere, and commitment to quality, making every sauce, dressing, and menu item in-house from original recipes. And beyond the kitchen, Tim is widely respected for using his business as a platform for community support, drawing on a background in education and service. He regularly partners with local organizations and fundraisers, provides meals for community events, and supports fellow entrepreneurs through mentorship and encouragement. More than just a great barbecue, BBB is about creating connection and joy, because nothing matters more than a smile on a customer's face. And I will say for a fact that if you're not happy doing what you're doing every day, this is not your field. You have to have pride. You have to love your people, love your food. It's a big deal. And having done it so many years, and I'm still learning, there's something really beautiful about our work. As for Rosemary Martin, she is the founder of Rosie Cooks Catering. It is a premier Northern California catering company with more than 2 decades of experience in the region's culinary and events landscape. Known for its highly personalized approach, Rosie Cooks specializes in custom menus designed to reflect each client's unique taste and style. From intimate private dinners to large-scale corporate events, the company delivers elevated cuisine paired with seamless professional service. At the heart of the brand is Rosie's passion for hospitality and her belief that hosts should be able to enjoy their celebrations. A proud third-generation, family-owned business, Rosie Cooks Catering remains deeply rooted in the community while continuing to set the standard for thoughtful, client-focused catering. So what we're doing today, the reason that we wanted to have a panel here was just to kind of offer you the different ways that you can get into the industry or how you can expand from your industry, right? There's always room to move. Sometimes we call that diversification. It just depends on how you've heard it before. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, and we're going to have Tim start first, okay? And Rosie's really excited. Rosie was very rosy on the way here, and as I walked her in, she said, I'm starting to forget everything that I'm going to say. What are you going to ask me? So I'm here to tell you that I was rehearsing myself on the way here, and pretty much every line that I thought I had down was not the same that I just spoke. So it happens all the time. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to have each of you, you're going to just a little talk about yourself, a short synopsis of how your business came to be, Tim. So if you want to go ahead and share.
All right. Is this working? Yeah? Okay. So the way it started was pretty unique. I was actually in education for about 15 years, and I was a special education teacher. So when I received students, I guess from general education, you'd say, they were having a hard time learning in the traditional fashion. And I knew my passion, or one of my passions, was cooking and sports and stuff. So I did a lot of sports with the kids, and that connected with a lot of them. But it was hard to tie that into academics. But with the cooking, I brought to the classroom with all the students. We were doing of course, like recipes, grocery lists, calculating all the math and spending, and all the stuff that restaurant owners or catering businesses do. We were essentially doing in the classroom with my students. So we would sell food to the teachers. We had like a little coffee shop, and we were slowly like making a little bit of money, and we did things like went to the Smith trout farm, and we would do fun things like that with the kids, and then we would cook some fish. And then eventually it started branching out to like community members wanting to be involved, and they would come and buy food. And then we did some things like we went to the Oakland A's baseball games, and then we would do the Exploratorium, and we were doing a bunch of fun stuff, right? So we had all these happy kids that were funding their own field trips, and field trips now like aren't a thing in schools because there isn't money. So it's pretty cool that our little special education class was going on all these field trips and making food and making money. And at the same time, I should probably go back to the educational piece. All my students' tests as far as like reading, writing, and math were going up, because they found a passion in like cooking and stuff as well, and it wasn't like the traditional classroom that I talked about that they were struggling in. So they were doing math with the grocery lists, adding stuff up, receipts, all that, and the kids were doing great. They were having a good time, and I'll bring this into how it became a business. Is we were doing community events, like I said, and some businesses wanted some like Christmas parties and stuff, and I told them, cooking for 150, 200 people with my class like really wasn't a thing, and it wasn't something I was looking to pursue. And then they asked if I would do it, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And they needed like my business license and all this stuff, and I was like, hey guys, like I'm running a classroom, right? That's not how it's going. Then they said some numbers, and I said, okay. I'll get my business license and a commissary. And I did a couple jobs, and then it just kind of snowballed. And the next thing I knew, I had to make a decision of become, I guess, a barbecue caterer or a teacher. And I have 2 kids, a wife, and, we decided let's chase a dream and build something for our family. And that's how I kind of started and how I got to where I'm at. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction of how it came.
And go ahead, Rosie, share it.
Well, I've always just been really passionate about cooking, and I grew up in San Luis Obispo, and my family owned a couple of restaurants, and so I was in the kitchen at a really young age doing tasks, and I've always loved feeding people, and it's just kind of my way of showing love to people. And I was always, our home was always a home that hosted all the parties, or I helped people host parties, or did school events and that type of thing, and people would always say, "Oh, you should do this," or you should open a restaurant, or that kind of thing. And so I jumped in. A friend of mine's daughter was getting married, and she encouraged me to do her daughter's wedding, and that was over 20 years ago. And I love it. It's I'm going to look at my notes here, what I put down. And my family moved here. We moved here in the mid 1970s. So I started my catering business started in Kelseyville, and that's where we've been. And my kids are part of it, and all of our grandkids have been part of it, and even my little grandkids know how to roll sushi and make pasta, and they're always, and they can tell if the pasta's not fresh made, and they'll let you know. So it's been, that's just how I started, and one of the things that I did was when people were encouraging me to do that, I started taking classes everywhere, and I studied I took some classes in LA, San Francisco, New Orleans. I got to meet all kinds of amazing chefs and be around like-minded people, and then you end up communicating with them and talking, and you just get all kinds of ideas and inspiration, and that's just kind of how it started. That's it.
All right, we're going to go into the next section and you can give a little more description. All right, Tim, I'm going to start with you on this question. And what has surprised you most about the catering business versus a standard restaurant business?
The biggest surprise probably is the restaurant business is really tough. One day you might have, I'll just pick a random number, you might have 17 people walk through the door, and then the next day you might have 117. And either way, they're expecting to have exactly what they want. And if you don't have what they want, they might leave, they might be unhappy, and they might put it all over Facebook. And it's a struggle because food costs these days are not cheap, obviously. So you got to find a balance between how do you keep your customers happy and reduce waste and still be profitable, which it is very hard. And then catering I enjoy because you're typically doing an event for someone, like a wedding or a birthday or something fun. So it's always like a happy, fun setting, good times. People are ready to party. You're the hero because you brought some food. And if they say they want it for 100 people and you cook it for 100 people and 77 people are there, you did what they asked, right? So catering is easier and more consistent, and the restaurant is much harder of an animal, I would say. And I guess the surprise would be is, it's not uncommon for me to do jobs for 200, 300, 400, 500 people. And when you hear that number, you think, man, cooking for that many people is difficult. But I rather cook for 400 or 500 people than try and guess what I'm going to cook on an average day, as crazy as that sounds. But I'm doing both, so maybe I'm just crazy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He's actually doing both. And it's very true. You don't know from one day to the next. And you can check the seasons, what's seasonal that they tell you. And I find myself telling a lot of the clients too, like, so what's going on in your town? Pay attention to what's going on in your town, because it could be the weird time of the year. It could be January through March, and all of a sudden, though, there's all these other different things happening, and you get hit, like Tim said. You could be 17 typically on a Monday, but suddenly there's some random thing happening, and now you're at like 67 or like whatever. And the tricky part is too, right, is that when you're catering, you still have a certain amount of staffing, but when you're a brick and mortar, you have to have a certain amount of staffing, but you have to always find that balance of how do I afford all this, and when the days are quieter, or if it hits. And it's always the day that hits the hardest that you have the skeleton crew. There's 2, not 5. And everybody goes, what happened to you guys today, right? And you're like, I don't know, what happened to you guys? You all showed up. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. But we make it through, right? It's just like any other business, you just have to roll with it, right? So Rosie, what would you think that you found with the catering, this same question? I'll call it out again, or do you have it in front of you?
Well, no. But
Okay, but you got your
So-
answers.
So catering, you know your guest count. Yeah, you hopefully know your dietary restrictions. Sometimes there's always something that gets thrown at you. For us, we develop custom menus for our clients. So we might be doing New Orleans food one day and rack of lamb another day, or rack of elk or something, and then burgers or sandwiches. So it's always different. So you're not like where you go into a restaurant and people just order off a menu and this is what that you need to have. But it is nice. We know exactly what to buy and how much to buy and that kind of thing. Logistics can be tricky. Sometimes we don't have an event space at our kitchen. But we work at a lot of the same event places, so we're familiar with a lot of places around here. But then sometimes we might be up on top of a mountain overlooking the lake, and they want a plated wine-paired menu with china and everything, and you have to take four-wheel drives up there, and so you have to figure out how all of that's going to work. It can just be kind of crazy. And sometimes you're planning, even when you plan things, something can go wrong, so you have to kind of pivot, and we always try to make it look like, oh, nope, this was meant to be. That even I've gone places and previewed, and we have all the proper electrical outlets and everything, and then right in the middle of the event, everything gets blown, and there's no electrical outlet, so we're taking a coffee maker down to the dock to plug in on the dock, and it's kind of like camping sometimes. Staffing is different. So in a restaurant, you in a restaurant you might have people, just so hopefully not standing around, but where you're waiting for customers to come in, and we know how much staffing we need and that kind of thing. The downside is we don't have regular business hours, so we can't like always promise people, oh, Monday through Friday is your days to work or that kind of thing. So. And sometimes that can be kind of hard to, get people. We're not just cranking stuff out, the same thing out day after day, or that kind of thing. You have to be super organized, because if you are going up on a mountain and you have to be really organized. I'm a list fanatic. I'm always checking off my lists and everything, because you don't want to get up there and go, oh, where's the lamb? Or, something like that. And for me, it is a family business. So for me and my family, I think one of the hard parts is shutting it off sometimes. We could, and especially with it seems like I'm on all the time. I've been in Hawaii, and my son will be like, I'll be updating the calendar, and my crew is back in Kelseyville getting ding ding, and my son will be like, why are you working? You're in Hawaii, It's like, but it's just hard to shut off, and sometimes even because it's a family-owned business. we'll be in the middle of a family dinner and start talking about an event or catering or something like that, and sometimes I'll even come up and my husband will, and I just say nope, we're closed, because it's like I can't talk about it anymore. It's, you just have to watch getting burnt out. I think as I've gotten older, I've done that more. Yeah. So.
That's very true. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I might not be open half a Saturday, closed on Monday, and I was still there.
Yeah.
And when people, she knows me actually, so she knows I have two businesses, but then they would see my car. After a while, you start wanting to hide your car, because if they see you, they're like, can we have lunch? And it's like, no, we're really closed half the day. We're really not working, because you'll never get caught up. And it's a 24/7. And whether you're a brick and mortar or you're catering or whatever it is, you still have to be prepared. Those lists that Rosie talks about, the ordering, everything still has to be in place. Nothing stops, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a brick and mortar or a caterer or a pop-up or whatever. They all have their differences, but they all have their likenesses also. So, okay. So we're going to go into the next question, because you have been in business for several years. Tim, you've been around the industry for many years, and now you're going into your longevity. He's developing quite a legacy, by the way, and we thank you. But so they're going to give you some tips and tricks on some other areas how to stay relevant and stay in the game. And I will tell you, as being in the industry, and I'm getting old, around 40 years now, don't say anything, Weston. And I will tell you that if you don't evolve with the industry, you will not keep evolving, right? You're going to be left behind. So that's what this next question is about. Okay. And this next question, Tim, I'm going to start with you. And how do you stay innovative and relevant in a competitive market such as this?
That's a good question. So the first day I opened in Middletown, my Middletown restaurant, I had a chef come up from San Francisco that I know. And he enjoyed the food and talked to me, and he said one of the biggest things he learned in San Francisco was to listen to your customers and be willing to change. Like, just don't be hard-headed, I suppose. And that was really cool to hear from somebody who runs a successful business in a very hard place to run a successful business. So it let me know, if maybe something isn't working, let's listen to my customers, see what people want, be willing to adjust. Don't think I'm the best in the world just because I started a business, I suppose. So that meant a lot to me, and really guided me a lot, I would say. I definitely try and stay current with the trends. It's kind of weird, or I guess maybe I've reached that age of where I'm old, where I enjoy watching like cooking shows and YouTube and just really nerd out on food. So yeah, I would say I stay relevant by listening. I feel like I could learn something from anybody, whether they're a business owner, a cook, or somebody who just likes to barbecue in their backyard. They might know something I don't. I started myself in a very unique way, so I feel I could learn something from everybody, and I think that's what's kept me relevant, being willing to be a student, and I always want to be a student because I want to keep getting better. Yeah.
And Rosie, for yourself, how do you stay relevant and keep moving forward?
Well, for me, since I've been doing it as long as I've been doing it, I don't, I like pivoting and listening to my people, and I don't cook as much. My son does most of the cooking, and letting him kind of be who he is, and the people that work for me too. We'll show them how we want things done, but then it's nice to hear their input and their types of things. What they like to do, how they like to make something pretty, and or do something. I love being around like-minded people, and we all like to take classes, and it's real inspiring to be around people that like to do what we like to do, or we watch the shows too, or we read, or even when we go out, we always want to sit by the kitchen and watch what they're doing in the kitchen. Or I want to be in the kitchen. I don't want to even, yeah, we always notice everything. We notice the service, we notice the food. And let's see. The other thing I love is that we love giving back to giving to back to people. We love supporting the veterans and the home. We have like we have people on speed dial that we call to feed people that are in need and stuff like that. I like doing that. That's like one of my favorite things. And debriefing. We debrief after every event, everything. What went well? What can we do differently or better, or that type of thing. And then I always ask my clients as well, please give me your honest feedback, because we want to keep improving. And so we do ask, and we get some good, honest feedback, and yeah, listen to your customers and hear what they have to say.
I was just going to say to you, I always had to listen to the customers. Thank you, Tim and Rosie. Say that again. Avoid being burned out. Very true. This is Eric. He's also part of Rosie Cooks. Some of the key points that you said, though, it is really about your customer. You can come in with a menu and think that's the menu for your area, but if you don't know the demographic area, because I'm the person who failed at this, I met Tim at the ground, when he was at ground level talking to me about it, and I am just so impressed, because that's what you did. He kept watching, and I had to do that. And I made some mistakes. I came in with a menu from South Bay thinking it was going to work up in this northern area. And I'm here to tell you that chipinos and Spanish paellas, they didn't cut it here. And I ended up doing some other things, buying lamb out of Potter Valley, making chicken fried steak, things that wasn't my typical menu, but I integrated it. And so everything that you two said, listening to your customer, and after the third time, you might want to think about it. I don't care if it's the wine on your list, it's the dessert, it's a main entree. Listen to your customer, because it makes all the difference. You want them coming in your door. Why are you going to stick with something that's not selling? And that works out the same with everything that you order on your menu, right? Is it cost effective if I keep pushing something that's not working, right? So, everything that you two said, and they're very big community people. Always be a part of your community. I mean, I know we're talking about food and beverage today, but any business, you should be a part of your community and give back. And some of the best things you can do are the fundraisers that I see you two do. We take on some really heavy lifetime things that happen with our neighbors, right? And then we take on their happiest. And to be on your game is a big thing. So those notes and those lists and those listenings and all those things like that also makes the business. It's not always just the food, it's everything else that comes with it. It's the organization, it's who you are as a partner in the community, partners with your colleges. I'm at the Culinary in Mendocino College, and talk to Robert. He works with every restaurant, everybody. He makes sure that it just rolls, and so it's very important to take that into consideration. Now, it's your turn. Do any of you have questions that you can just ask them straight out? Sir.
It's on. Thank you.
So this is actually for my baking and pastry people, because one of the things we found challenging is the CI we get probably for one baking and pastry student we get for culinary students. How do you guys work with baking and pastry people? Do you basically contract the baking and pastry to do all your baking and pastry in-house? That's so I just have a little bit more knowledge on my end to share with the students.
Okay, so I do barbecue. So traditionally we do like cobbler, banana pudding, brownies, cookies, stuff like that. So it's not, I don't know, for lack of better words, super fancy or in-depth. So we're able to make that happen in-house with our staff and family members that are on board. And people love it, so it goes really well with our menu. So that's worked for us. But that is a good question, because I do look at other people's menus and think that would be very difficult if it was me trying to do it. So
We have a pastry chef that works for us, that's in-house, yeah. And then there are times that we outsource as well. So, yeah, and she's wonderful. She does wedding cakes and
Just out of curiosity, is it more on the catering side you would do the outsourcing for baking and pastry, or is it more on the like brick and mortar? Do you do that in-house as far as the brick and mortar? Is it the catering side or?
it's more for catering.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question while she's taking the microphone over to Robert. I want to know, between the two of you, and even Robert can chime in on this, do you guys give out your recipes?
I'm easy. Because we're a culinary facility, I always have to give my recipes away. That's a part of my job, yeah.
Yeah. How about Tim with his macaroni and cheese?
I've thought about sharing it with you, but then I think there would be a barbecue by Colleen coming out, so can't do it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is there anybody else over here?
I do have one other question. You guys talked a little bit about commissary kitchens, and some of our folks, like today I have my catering class with me. Could you elaborate a little bit on where you might be able to find that and some of the fees that go along with that? And what does that enable you to do? Like, let's say I got approached and somebody wanted me to do a party for 150. And then, so what's the process of me getting a commissary kitchen, maybe here in Lake County, and maybe the fees and some of the added benefits that come along with that?
Well, we have our own kitchen, and I have rented kitchens, but it's been a long time. And I prior to owning our kitchen, we had a really long lease. So, yeah, I know there's the Grange, or that kind of stuff where you could maybe. Yeah, where it would be like maybe for a day thing or something. And
So I had a commissary a handful of years ago, so I don't remember the exact details, because the last 3 years I've had my own kitchen, and those 3 years feel more like 10. So I don't remember everything. But I had a commissary with La Monarca in Lower Lake, and we had an agreement on how I would be able to use the kitchen and what rules to follow. He had to have refrigerator space for me. He had to have dry goods space for me, like a pantry. And I would buy a lot of my product from him to make things simple and easy, because he had a store on hand. And yeah, there's some paperwork with the health department, but again, that was a handful of years ago. But she could probably answer that better than anyone.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to give a special shout out to Ms. Nicole and Julia for inviting our department. We're with the Lake County Environmental Health Department. Could answer Robert's question in regards to commissary. Usually, our food facility that's permitted and has a current permit to operate could be used as a commissary, and it depends on what the person need for the commissary. If they just needed storage area for the night, then you could have multiple commissaries. Usually when they come to our office, there's a form that they have to fill out, and they have to select a facility. We'll go out there, we'll review our file to make sure that the food facility has enough space for their operation and for the people that's going to be using their locations. And the fee varies in regards to, we don't charge a fee for it, but where they're going to go and use that space, they might have an agreement between the two parties. For us, we just want to make sure that they're actually preparing food in a facility that it's been inspected and that we know there's hot, cold running water, enough refrigeration space, so doesn't have any kind of temperature abuse in the food. I hope that helps. Did I answer?
Somebody else had raised their hand. There you go, sir.
Hello, I have a quick question. Tim, you're in Middletown?
Yeah, I had a restaurant in Middletown, and I currently use it to do my catering business out of. And I just purchased a building in Clear Lake. It used to be Delicious Alvarez, and I'm currently doing the work to bring it up to current codes.
Okay. And Rosie, you are in?
Kelseyville.
Kelseyville?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also looking for work, so.
Okay.
Sword. Thank you. Did anybody else have any questions?
So I was wondering if you could go into a little bit of detail, because I know both you guys, I think, are so flexible in the sense of I've seen you at high schools because, I have kids. There's also, like I said, food trucks, you're at the vendor fairs. How does catering tie into being mobile and also in-house? And what are some advice you could give anybody who might have a food truck and also be doing catering for restaurants? Maybe talk about that a little bit. Do you?
I had a food truck for a little bit, and I have my barbecue trailer that I bring to events. So I try to go to the larger events when I can, and then I'll go to some schools like career days and stuff when I can as well, if it fits in my schedule. I think that goes back to the being relevant. I got a wedding job last year, and they first tried my food at Lower Lake Days like 5 years ago when I was still a teacher, and I kind of was just doing it for fun. But they remembered me and used me years later. So I do still do a little bit of events when it allows between the catering and restaurant, just because it helps me stay relevant. And also it's where I started, and it's fun. I like being at events. I like seeing people. There's tons of other food vendors that I know throughout the years, and we'll trade food, hang out, see each other. So I try and get out when I can for many reasons. Is that kind of what you were asking? Okay.
Sir?
I had a question. Why do you do like catering and a restaurant? Like, don't you think it'd be easier to focus on one and That was just a question.
Simple answer, bills.
Bills. Yeah, makes sense. Man.
The catering, so it just kept getting bigger and bigger for me. And I had a commissary, to go back to the commissary, and it was becoming kind of a beast where I had multiple jobs a week, some of them being 200, 300, 400, and they have their own kitchen that they need to do their work from, right? And I'm coming in there like, hey, I need to cook for 300 people. It's like, that's not fair. So I had to make a choice, and the choice, again, I kind of leaped into the catering. I had my 4-year-old son, and then 2 years later, it was time to jump into a restaurant, and I had my 2-year-old daughter. So that's kind of how it played out. It's crazier as I say it out loud. It's pretty cool to see you as well. He's a student I used to work with back when I was a teacher. So.
I
Cool
can
to see
answer
you.
that too. Actually, kids. But actually, when I started, I didn't have children yet. I started out with a brick and mortar, and I told you about seasonal times of the year. Catering is very helpful during seasonal times of the year. And so for me, having that certification and having the instant kitchen, it allowed me to go off site, and I actually went to our own college and did the gala there and brought a totally different food to the table for the event. Right? And it also brought in more money. And it also, everywhere that you go, even if there's only 80 people there, but 2 come to you, right? You get more business. So if you can diversify and you want to stay relevant, as we talked about, you kind of look at what's already in your house and you look to see what you can share with others. Right? And that's what we did. And I actually found a different part of me that I didn't know after all those years, that I'm like you, Tim. I like to know that I've got, If they say they have 100, I make food for 110 just in case. You kind of have to think about, and then if they reserve for 100, you might want to take off 15% off the top that might not show, but you don't know this. So it really taught me a lot of different things as starting out as a brick and mortar, the covers as opposed to catering, but it also helped to add to my income during those slower times of the year. So if you can, I say you should, but I do tell you that it can be quite a beast, right? Because what you're used to like this, one-on-one behind there, because I've been behind the line too, but then when I'm preparing for 150 people, it's a whole different ballgame about how you do it. But yes, it just depends on what works for you. And I tell clients this all the time, siphon it down. What is it that you really want to be known for when you start your business? What are you good at? What are you ready for? Are you ready for 24/7? You heard how that goes, right? But it's good to start and know who you are first, who you are, who you want to be, that your team knows who you are, what you are, and how you're going to keep doing that, and always have a plan in place. And when everybody says there's no plan B, I'm sorry, but I know I've been to plan Z before, right? Because yes, there is. That doesn't mean that you aren't going to be successful because you have a plan B or C. It means that you're thinking ahead, and that if this doesn't work the way I plan it, you learn from it, like Tim called out. You go back, you think about it. You said you debrief, right? Then plan B, or maybe it's 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to say. But you should always think about that because it's your livelihood, it's your team's livelihood, and it's your reputation. So yeah, it's all right to have plan A, B, Z. Lisa?
I just wanted to say, as a customer of the Ukiah Garden Cafe, I really hits home with me because I'm from Ukiah, and so the demoldes and the Greek food that was there was just really stuck with me as a customer. So I really appreciate all the work that your family has done too, and just being a part of my life my whole life.
That was part of listening to the customers because they kept saying, are you going to do this on Wednesday? And nobody wanted to do it because it takes so long to make these Greek foods. But it was because of that we actually did Greek foods for about 17 years out of that time. Yeah.
Okay, and where is your restaurant?
It's no longer there.
Yeah.
It's like, when you're in the neighborhood and you sell your house and then they go, why did you let that person move in? And it's like, I don't know. I sold my house and whoever moves in, moves in. So I had a restaurant in Ukiah for 27 years. It was the Ukiah Garden Cafe. Thank you, Lisa. And, after many years, the man I was married to was on his feet 40 years hard. Really hard worker, really loves what he does. I still try to get him to open up just like a half-day thing. Like, do you just want to do breakfast and lunch? And he's like, nope. But we're also older than the rest of you. And but I do some catering sometimes. But I actually like working with all of you and students and doing it that way and getting to know all of your businesses from a different perspective. So, yeah, thank you.
So I have a question regarding marketing and starting up. It's a big question we get from our students. Tell me some of the things you did when you initially started out that really got you traction in that area. And I wasn't sure if it was on the brick and mortar side or the catering, so if we can help identify what that was, that would be very helpful.
For me, when I first started out, it was really word of mouth, and that was awesome. It was every year our business doubled every year for years, and now we're trying to do more social media. We have somebody that's working with us on that, and that's about it. I haven't been great at marketing, probably, but yeah. Yeah, word of mouth is great. Yeah.
So for me, I guess what has helped me the most is I was born and raised here, and then I went into education, like I talked about, and then I also coached for probably 10 or more years at the high school level. So I had a lot of connections in the community, and like I talked about, I did a lot of community dinners and lunches and stuff with my students, and that included like inviting the mayor, city council, policemen, fire department. So like when I jumped into business, my name was known pretty well community-wide, just for one, growing up here and then doing a lot of stuff with the community, from coaching to teaching to everything else. And then I think too, also I started, like I talked about, doing a lot of the street fairs and events and stuff. And I have I have two smokers. One of them's about 25 feet long, 600 gallons, Texas style. It's kind of sells itself in a sense. So I think it's a combination of things. What I just talked about probably doesn't work in a large city, but I think in a like Lake County, it goes a long ways, and that's worked really well for me. And I try my best to make connections with a lot of the local businesses. I know a few of the business owners that are in here right now. We all support each other. We all post each other's food. So their restaurant people see my food, and I post theirs, you know, kind of, yeah. So it kind of helps everyone.
I agree. You do join different food forums. You know, we're even trying to start some of the like small restaurant associations, different.
I haven't did that. I kind of play around on my Facebook a lot, and as an example, Stonehouse, I've traded food with them many times, and we both post that we traded food. No cash, just food. Chilanguitas in Clear Lake, La Monarca, like we just trade food and post it, and people really bought into it because we're supporting each other. And I've actually been asked numerous times, like, why do you post about other foods so much? You're like losing your own business, right? And it's like, no, that's not how it works. You know, when we're all stronger together, we're a small community. If we want to get our names out, if we want to get more tourism here, we have to work together.
You know, it is a camaraderie, and we know from having businesses for these years that you do. I mean, I remember when I had my restaurant, and sometimes somebody just didn't like what was on our menu. They come in and they look at it, right? And it's their option to leave. And sometimes they'd say, well, where could I go for this or that? I've sent people to the broiler before. I've sent people to Patrono that's open. I mean, I've sent them, you know, why am I not going to do that? You still need to be a partner in business. During the holidays, when there's a lot of big events and things like that, when they know that you're willing to share, and I know that sounds weird to say willing, because everybody thinks that you're competing. We're all competing somehow, some way, but not in that manner. You know, I'm competing with myself to make sure I'm getting the job done right and that my customers are happy. And so, I mean, we're all living this community together, so you do have to do it together. It's a big deal. It's a big part of marketing. When you said marketing is also, I want to say this. When I work with a lot of clients, they might suddenly start doing their social medias and then they drop off after a week or two. Consistency is important in your marketing. And also, if somebody goes to your website and they look at your menu and those types of things, but then they show up and it's different when they get to you, whether you're catering, whether you're brick and mortar, if it's your marketing isn't consistent in timing, in look, in feel, in the personality that they're expecting, your marketing isn't worth it. It has to be relevant. It has to stay like in tune. And they do get angry. You know, they want to show up for exactly what they expected, like we all do. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to market yourself and you're going to market well or market poor, expect to get the return in the same manner. All right. Everybody good? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tim and Rosie.